Hello, this is Barry, and you're watching Barry and the PI. Today, I want to talk about a place that's dear to my heart. Now, as an older guy, when I first came here, I loved the Philippines. It was really just something totally different from where I came from and where I've spent much of my life. In my life, I grew up in Texas, uh, in Austin, Texas, and but when I was about 9 years old, my parents said we're going on vacation to Big Bend National Park, brand new park, just opened. Still hadn't even gotten all the amenities and stuff there. Uh, and we went with another family, friends of my mother and dad, and they had a son and a daughter too, our age, about my age, and we went out there. And Big Bend is out in far west Texas. It's right on the Rio Grande, separates Texas from Mexico, and it's a desolate area. My first impression of it, this place is wild. And a person could go walking out here and something happened to them and they die and nobody'd probably ever find you, which is true. And a lot of people have died out there, even since it's become a national park. It's a harsh land, it's a wild land, and it's absolutely beautiful. There's not much water around, just the Rio Grande, but there are springs around. You just have to know where those springs are. But anyway, we went out there, and we also went to Presidio, Texas, which is right on the border, and we crossed over into Mexico, and we were at this restaurant bar place. And my dad said, they don't have a law. You can drink beer or something. That perked me up. I'll have a cocktail. What kind of cocktail? And I had no idea what the hell kind of cocktail there are even. And so my dad said, bring him a Shirley Temple. Little did I know that that's a cocktail, this fancy drink uh, with no alcohol. But I drank it. It tasted pretty good. Uh, and I didn't get out there until after I went to the University of Texas. And my freshman year there, I hired out the first summer after my freshman year to assist a guy on his geological field trip for his PhD. Uh, and he and I seemed to get along. Uh, so we headed out to West Texas to a little small town on the freeway called Van Horn. And my time there was pretty good, but we had a UT, University of Texas Department of Geology pickup truck, and they gave us a UT gas credit card, so we buy all our gas, and we use that truck to go all over the place. One time we decided to go to Juarez, Mexico, and we went to a place. I think it was called Irma's or something like that. Now it was a brothel. It was a whorehouse, and we were in the BUT pickup when we parked it down the streets from the whorehouse, and we went and spent an evening there, and a few other bars in Tijuana. No, I mean Juarez, Mexico. Uh, and we had a good time. And then we drove back, and in that pickup, like about 1 o'clock in the morning, and he said, "I'll drive first, and then you can drive." I said, "All right, that's good," because we were both drunk, and I was probably drunker than him, but so we took off. It's 100 miles back to Van Horn there. So it was a good little drive. And he said he tried to wake me up about halfway to take over the driving. I wouldn't, he couldn't get me to wake up. But fortunately, nobody reported a couple of students in UT geology pickup truck were parked over by the whorehouse. So we didn't get in trouble for that. But anyway, we went down, made several trips into Big Bend and exploring stuff, the geology of the area, did some hikes. And we did that quite often. Everywhere there was a mine, we went to it. Close to Van Horn was a marble mine. We went over there and looked around. Another geologist, he had opened up a gold mine that had first opened up over 100 years ago. And he was getting some gold and lead zinc ore and stuff like that too. And so I got back out to Big Bend National Park a lot. And ever since then, I've been going over there usually at least once or twice a year, often by myself, at least back in those days, in the 60s. I went a lot, and I hiked all over the place by myself. I kind of like it that way. I know if something happened, I might not make it out, but I was pretty good shape then anyway. So there's in that little town, Van Horn, there was a little Mexican restaurant, a small place, family owned. I think the guy had he had 3 daughters and a couple of sons. Pretty good sized family. They were very nice people. And I ate there often. But one of the daughters took a liking to me. Now see, I was young then too. I was a good looking guy. And I'd go over there and I'd eat, and then it closed up about 9 o'clock, just like this. Everything closed up about 9 o'clock in a small West Texas town. And her name was Juanita. Yeah, she was a young one. She's still in high school. But she'd come over and sit with me, and her hands would wander around And so I took, we had a drive-in movie theater there in Van Horn one at that time, and so I'd take the truck and take Juanita, and we go and have our fun. I don't think I ever saw a movie at the drive-in, otherwise occupied. But some geology students, the grad students would come out there and talk to Bob about his project and stuff. And one time, this graduate student came and he asked me to go with him to. He said they had excavated a dinosaur. It was a marine dinosaur. I can't remember the name of it now. But they had dug it up, and it's at the UT Memorial Museum on UT campus. So he wanted to go and look around, and there were little bits and pieces that were missing, and he wanted to see if we could find it. So yeah, I said, yeah, I'll go. I was always ready to go to Big Bend National Park, and so we did that, and so we made several trips to Big Bend, and so even after that was over, I would, every chance I'd get, I'd pack up my car and head for Big Bend. And I didn't even take a tent. I just sleep out on, I had my sleeping bag, and I had a real good sleeping bag. It'd keep me nice and warm on a cool evening. And so I hiked about every trail in the park one time or another, sometimes with a bunch of kids along. I would take a group of kids out there. Hey, Apollo. Apollo. No. So there's a place that just something about it that I just kept drawing me back there. And eventually I ended up teaching out there in Presidio, Texas, which is known as the hottest place in Texas. And it does get hot. It's a little valley surrounded by mountains. So it does get pretty hot. I wish I could put pictures of it on here, but I'm not much of a editor, as you can see. So I got to get somebody that can put together my pictures that I have of Big Bend. Another time, a friend of mine, his name is Jeff. His wife had gone out there with me and my wife. That was my first wife, Laura, and camped out and explored around Big Bend. And one day, our wives had to work, but he was a teacher too, so we had summers off. So Jeff and I decided we'd go out there to Big Bend. We'd spend this day a few days there in Big Bend, and then we'd meet our wives and then go over to Davis Mountain State Park, which is to the north of Big Bend. It's a historical old fort monument. Well, Jeff and I, we went around one day we spotted these two red-tailed hawks soaring, a pair of them soaring around over the desert floor. And then all of a sudden, they both just swooped down. Probably called them a rabbit or something like that. I said, I'm gonna call you Eagle Eye, and I'll be Hawkeye. You're Eagle Eye Jeff and Hawkeye Barry. And we were really having sightings of a lot of animals. So we decided we'd go down the Old Ore Road. Now this is a caliche, rocky, rough road through the backcountry, through the desert. And we went in my pickup. And on the way into that, we saw a badger. I didn't even know badgers lived out there. Right, we were probably 7 o'clock in the morning, and it was crossing the road. And we went on further, and then, bam! Flat tire. Yep. And I went to get out my tire tools to change the tire, and my tools were not there. And then I remembered, oh yeah, we used my tools to fix a flat tire my wife had about a week or so before. Now, that was dumb. That was dumb of me not to check that before we left Charleston. But so we were about halfway down the road, about 7 miles, 8 miles in one direction, 7 to 8 miles in the other direction. And we sat out there, and it started heating up. We had water, but by the afternoon, about noon or so, the water was hot. And we were talking, and we'd sit there and talk and say, you know, we may never make it out here, and you think that they'll put up a little exhibit there of our bones? And yeah, here lies Eagle-Eye Jeff and Hawkeye Barry, who had a flat tire and didn't make it. We were joking because, I mean, there's nothing out there. It's a desert, and mostly cactus and creosote bush, which don't get real high. And we sat there about 2 o'clock, and nobody had come through. So we decided, well, let's hike up further, and there might be more people over there because there's a big rest area, an exhibit area down that way. So we started walking, carried the water we had, and we walked, and it got hotter. And we came to where Carlotta Springs is, and on the other side of the springs, like a plateau, high plateau. On the other side, and I knew we would have to walk up there, but about that time, as often happens in July and August in Big Bend, the storm clouds started forming, and they were shooting lightning bolts down to the ground up there. They said, you know, we get up there, you and I are going to be the tallest thing there, and the tallest thing usually attracts lightning. So we were sitting there rested and figuring out what to do, or let that thunderstorm move on off. And here comes this big old truck. It was a young couple, and that was their truck that they had brought over from Australia, I think. And they were going to be traveling the U.S. And they were driving through here and looking for a campsite. And they stopped for us. And he said, well, y'all get in the back and we'll drive over to your truck and see if my tire tools will work on it. So we did. And they had a big chest of water. Oh, it was ice cold. And we drank that stuff. Well, we were just pouring it down. And finally, we get back to where the truck was. His tools wouldn't work. Then came a park ranger, and his tools would work. So we changed that, and I had a donut tire as a spare, and so we changed the tire and decided to call it quits, go back to the Cheeses Mountain campgrounds. And by that time it was like 8 o'clock. And by the time we got back, all the stores were closed. Restaurants didn't open. And well, I had chicharrones, some chicharrones. A bag of that was one of my favorite snacks. And we had plenty of beer in our ice chest. And so we were sitting there, and this lady, the older couple, had heard us say, oh, we couldn't even get anything to eat. And she said, I got some sardines and crackers. I said, oh, you can keep the sardines, but give me the crackers. And so, like most people camping out in national parks are very, very friendly. And so they brought that over, and I ate crackers and drank beer. So it was time to go to sleep. That was not one of my better experiences in Big Bend. As I've hiked at things and never had a problem. But I still have that memories of that. That was quite a trip. We ended up having to go to Alpine, 118 miles north of the park, to buy a new tire and get it put on my truck. And then we were supposed to meet our wives in another day or two. So we went and just decided to go ahead and go to Fort Davis State Park. And we camped out there, and the girls, our wives showed up. And then it rained. And our tent did fine. But his tent, Jeff and Jennifer's tent, seemed like they had some holes in it, and they were just getting soaked. So we got up and left, and go into Fort Davis and stay at a hotel. All the hotels are booked. So I had a miserable night. Yeah, the girls didn't enjoy that trip, but Jeff and I sure did, as we often do. So enough of my rambling on. Y'all take care. Keep your thoughts on those people down in the central Visayas and southern Visayas. that are victims of the typhoon, the super typhoon, and keep them in your thoughts and prayers, and help out if you can, and be sure to get vaccinated. I still need to go get my booster, and we'll try to do this next week. So y'all take care, stay safe, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video too. Y'all take care.